A quick word on finance. I haven't talked about finance in a long time. Why has the financial market been so volatile recently? The A-shares market lost money again, right? Do you accept it? I am an expert. So don't question me. All those who question me on shares and gold are idiots. Of course, you can question me on other things. Like if I said something wrong about a weapon's performance or a rocket's parameters. You can question me on that. Let's first talk about why a bear market appeared after the military parade. It was during the parade, specifically. It was dropping as the parade was happening. The market plummeted on the day of the parade. And military stocks also plummeted. Today, I am going to tell you the deeper reason. Why did these stocks fall when the parade showcased advanced world-class weapons? I'll give you the simple truth in one sentence. The weapon with the greatest lethality in this parade, which is also the bull-bear turning point, wasn't a weapon at all. The most lethal weapon wasn't the Dongfeng -5C, nor the Dongfeng -61, nor even the hypersonic glide vehicle. This bull market, which I've named the Xi Jinping stepping down bull market, is the first of its kind in history. It is a bull market that happened because people thought a national leader would step down. That is the reason. Don't give me that nonsense. When I was playing the stock market, you were still playing in the mud. You say the Chinese stock market is the barometer of the Chinese economy. And that, of course, the market rises when the Chinese economy recovers. That is bullshit. How much has the Chinese economy grown since 1990? When has the Chinese stock market ever been a barometer of the Chinese economy? Have they suddenly become one in the last 6 months? Do you believe that? 35 years have passed since 1990. A person born then would be 35 years old today. This market has been a mess for 35 years. And suddenly, at 35 and a half, it becomes a good market. Wow. Do you believe that? The Chinese stock market has never been a barometer of the Chinese economy. Not for a single minute. It is a barometer for the brain-dead idiots. I don't need to explain what happens after he steps down. All the fund managers, my junior peers, believed there was a high probability that Xi Jinping would step down this time. In the circle of domestic fund managers, it was widely rumored that Xi Jinping wouldn't even be at this parade. As a result, everyone was very optimistic about returning to reform and opening up. And since it seemed like Trump wasn't really serious about his actions against China, this belief was further solidified. The recent rapid rise in the Chinese stock market, from over 3,500 points to 3,800 points, was the Jinping stepping down bull market. And then there is the 150-year-old bear market. At 8:26 a.m. Beijing time on the 3rd of September, the bull-bear turning point occurred. General Secretary Xi and Putin were walking on the Tiananmen rostrum. They didn't realize that a media microphone could pick up their conversation from so far away. Their casual chat was accidentally exposed. Putin, like a lapdog, was walking on the left side of General Secretary Xi, and Kim Jong-un was like another lapdog. The two of them were clearly flattering old Xi, since old Xi is the most powerful. Putin first said that with the continuous development of biotechnology, human organs will be transplanted, allowing us to live longer and younger, and even achieve immortality. General Secretary Xi smiled slightly. After hearing this and responded that in this century, humans might live to be 150 years old. He said, it was rare to see people live to be 70 in the past. But now, a 70-year-old is still just a child. This year, General Secretary Xi is 72, which means he considers himself a child. At 150, he still has 80 years left to mess with you. Unexpectedly, BBC, Associated Press, and Reuters all broadcasted this. The live broadcast on CCTV also showed it. CCTV immediately tried to cover it up because 1.9 billion people watched that version. You can't see it now. CCTV has replaced it with music, but BBC, Associated Press, and Reuters still have it, and they quickly had to do damage control. Why did Putin bring this up out of the blue? Today, I was hosting a big boss from the Chinese capital market who came from Tokyo, Japan. He asked me why they weren't discussing important military matters, but were talking about this instead. I said, it is simple. When I haven't seen you in a long time, the first thing I'll ask is about your health. It is human nature. Why did he mention it for no reason? It is likely because something similar happened to him, and Putin's intelligence has a lot of information. So everyone's hopes were shattered, and the A-shares plummeted. But I am telling you, the A-shares plunge isn't a bad thing. Why? Because it is an illusion. Why doesn't the US stock market fall? Why is a fall in the A-shares always a plunge? If the A-shares rose to 5,000 points and then fell, people would be jumping off buildings. Why? Because it has no bottom. It can fall from 5,000 points all the way down to 1,800 points. It fell from 6,000 to 2,000 points. This is our Chinese A-shares. In a normal country, without war or national destruction, it would not fall from 6,000 points to 2,000 points in a normal economic environment. Why? Because it has no substance. The entire shares market is a counterfeit market. Don't argue with me. Where are the companies that truly represent China's economic future and cutting-edge technology listed? Look me in the eye and answer me. Don't tell me Kuaishou Moutai is an advanced Chinese company. Don't tell me China Construction Bank or PetroChina are advanced Chinese companies. Look me in the eye. What are advanced companies? What can compete with the future United States? Isn't it Huawei? Isn't it Tencent? Isn't it Alibaba? Isn't it Cattle? Right? Where are these companies listed? Is there a single one listed on the A-shares market? The real cash cows, the future leaders of the AI era. Why did they choose to go to the Hong Kong stock market instead of the US market? After being driven out of the US market, they went to the Hong Kong market. If they are so patriotic, why aren't they listed in their own country? These bosses know very well that the A-shares market is an unhealthy market. Economic recovery and growth don't mean the Chinese stock market will recover and grow. There has never been a positive correlation between the two throughout the history of the Chinese stock market. In contrast, the stock markets of India, Vietnam, and any other country have a positive correlation with their economies. When the economy takes off, the stock market takes off. Only the Chinese stock market, which started at over 1,000 points in 1992 to 1993, is only at over 3,000 points today. After all that boasting, it has only risen to 3,800 points, and that is the peak. For how many years? 35 years, I ask you. By how many times have China's fundamental economics, housing prices, and people's salaries grown in these 35 years? Why is the A-shares market completely disconnected? Not long ago, the A-shares market was still struggling in the mire of 2,000 plus points. Has the Chinese economy only doubled? Why? Because it is full of fakes. Where do the fakes come from? The chronic problems of the issuance system. Why are there chronic problems with the issuance system? I don't want to talk about it anymore on my show because I've talked about it to death. Every single person in the China Securities Regulatory Commission, CSRC, is a criminal. I guess the only people at the CSRC who aren't criminals are the cleaning lady at the door and the security guard. As long as they have a desk in the office, they are all accomplices, led by the CSRC chairman. Don't say, Old Wang, you've been abroad for 15 years. Or, of course, with General Secretary Xi as the great clear sky. There is no corruption now. That is bullshit. Wasn't Yi Huiman arrested? You will soon see news about Yi Huiman. I am telling you, entrepreneurs from Zhejiang and Jiangsu who wanted to get things done with Yi Huiman would pay him 1 billion yuan to get listed. You heard me right. Yi Huiman took 1 billion yuan for a single listing quota. I was furious when I heard this news because I used to help people get listed. That is how Yihe Capital started. In my era, it only cost 1 million yuan. Now it is 1 billion yuan. That is too corrupt. I even thought 1 million yuan was corrupt enough. The CSRC chairman at that time, Wang Xiaoxi, would give you a special approval for no more than 3 million yuan. And now you dare to take 1 billion yuan. Yu Huiman, you really dare. I am not fear-mongering. I can even tell you which company it was. A private enterprise from Jiangsu. They really dared to give 1 billion yuan. And they really got listed. You will soon see news of his arrest. Of course, the news will probably downplay it to avoid upsetting you. But if he dared to take 1 billion yuan, there are plenty of people who dare to give 100 million yuan. So the A-shares market is filled with fakes, led by the CSRC chairman. They take what they can. I was in this business in the late 1990s and early 2000s. I came from the State Commission for Restructuring the Economic System. So I know this game all too well. The internet has a memory. In 2004, after Wang Xiaoxi, the head of the issuance department, was arrested, I wrote an article called The CSRC on the Fish Pond. If you search for Wang Jizhou and Wang Xiaoxi, you will surely find this article. Even back then, when I was still in the industry, I believed that for the Chinese stock market to be stable and sustainable, it had to be reformed. Although I wasn't clean myself, I admit that I was also part of this criminal group in the early days. But didn't I come to my senses? I wanted to be the CSRC chairman. I wanted to manage this industry. There is no shame in that. Do you know who the first chairman of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) was? The reason why America has such a great financial market today. The first SEC chairman was the notorious Wall Street tycoon, who had his hand in both the legal and illegal worlds. Why did President Roosevelt dare to let him do it? Many people objected, saying he wasn't an official, but a big-time swindler. President Roosevelt said that only he could manage the market well. I have a similar famous quote: "Only Kongsa can manage northern Myanmar well, and only I can manage the China Securities Regulatory Commission well. Because I know every trick in the book. How do you accountants play the game? How do you securities firms and sponsors play? How do you law firms issue legal opinions? You can't hide anything from me, so I wanted to do this. But of course, there was no chance for me. The chronic problems with the A-shares issuance system have led to a market full of fakes. If the money used in this market is all counterfeit, can you say the things sold in this market have any value? It is that simple. Furthermore, the A-shares dividend system has never been established. If the A-shares market was created in the early days to help state-owned enterprises, souls raise capital to get out of trouble, then after fulfilling that historical mission, you should have established a sound dividend system for the large number of unqualified SOS that were listed. At the very least, the average dividend amount shouldn't be less than the current deposit interest rate. Am I speaking plain English? If I have 100,000 yuan and I put it in China Construction Bank or Agricultural Bank of China, the annual interest I get is more than what I would earn in the stock market. What reason do I have to play the stock market? Even if I get stuck, if the dividends can give me 4% or 5% a year, I can just hold on, the market would rise and wouldn't fall. Don't argue with me, you idiots, saying that the US doesn't pay dividends either, that Tesla doesn't pay dividends. Are you comparing yourselves to Tesla? Do you have a NASDAQ? Aren't all your listed companies just old SOS getting out of trouble? Aren't Angang and Bansi Steel listed companies? Aren't Chulin listed companies? Why don't you pay dividends? Do you have high technology or a future? The stock market has only two reasons to exist. One is the price, earning ratio, and the other is the price. Dream ratio, tell me, do you have a price, earning ratio, or a price? Dream ratio, you have neither. You are just an idiot, a scoundrel. So either you give me dividends and play for real, like a cash cow, which is fine, Quichou Motai can get listed, or you give me a future. Whether it is BYD or Cattle, give me a future. Why aren't you listed if you are going to build the world's cars in the future? Why don't you give us these good things? So, this mandatory dividend system has not been established for 35 years. CSRC chairman, did you grow up eating shit? You are all shameless, getting high salaries on top. After you retire, you go to the Shanghai or Shenzhen stock exchange to be a director with an annual salary of 10 million yuan. Don't you have any shame? You all should be taken out and shot. You still get an annual salary of 10 million yuan. You heard me right after retiring. The former CSRC chairman goes to the Shenzhen stock exchange to be a director with a salary of 10 million yuan. Aren't you leaks green with envy? And what about delisting, accountability, and armed supervision? None of that exists. It is just a blatant scam. They get listed, run off to Los Angeles, hide there, and keep mistresses. The money is all transferred out, and the company is delisted. Is anyone supervising? Is there law and justice in this world? They don't even care about billions of yuan. But if an old lady sets up a street stall, the city management officers will break her scale and smash her watermelons. But they don't care when dozens of billions of yuan are taken to the US or Canada. Right? That is right. They don't care. You heard me right. Why can't they manage it? The CSRC has no enforcement power. The CSRC can only call you and warn you, and then give you a market entry ban. But they've already taken away dozens of billions. Do they still care about your market entry ban? You've already retired. So do you care if you are banned from working again? So why can't the Chinese stock market rise? The Chinese stock market is a mass grave from the Nanjing massacre. You all watch Nanjing Photo Studio. But have you thought about your money in the stock market being taken away like this? Trillions of yuan. The Chinese stock market's 35-year history is a mass grave that has buried millions of retail investors. Dozens of millions of skeletons are in there, and you turn a blind eye. Then you tell me the stock market can be a bull market and a touchstone of the Chinese economy. Who are you trying to fool? So I've been reminding everyone for a long time. This bull market is the Jinping stepping down bull market. Then this bear market is the 150-year rule bear market. So I am doing a good deed, telling you to take profits and run, and to stay away from the stock market, and this kind of political stock market, this politically driven stock market, which is the only one in the world. I guess North Korea would have to surpass it in political drive. But North Korea doesn't have a stock market. So I am not optimistic about its future. Even if Jinping really steps down, the person who replaces him will inevitably be an obedient one. In his current state, how could he possibly be replaced by someone who would want to settle accounts with him? So it must be an obedient person. If that person has no roots in the party, aren't they just a little emperor with the Empress Dowager Cixi behind them? The confidence of the people will inevitably be worn down in this cycle of shattered illusions. I entered the industry shortly after the stock market was founded. I have witnessed firsthand how the Chinese people's economic confidence in the government has been repeatedly worn down by disappointment. So, if you ask me what the core two words are for China's finance and economy, it is confidence. Modern human economics is about confidence. If there is no confidence, how can you make money? So the next key point is why ordinary people are finding it so difficult to make money in the stock market. Now the index rises, but I don't make money. The index falls, and I fall first. Why? Because your opponents are evolving, and you are not. The opponents of retail investors in the Chinese stock market are people like Xu Xiang and me. He is in the secondary market, and I am in the primary market. Our so-called market, making or line drawing, was done with human brains. What is it today? Today is the Cambrian period. Wow, but it is not the great explosion of life. It is the great extinction of life in the Chinese stock market. Today, the opponent of the retail investor or the big fund dealer is using NVIDIA H100 graphics cards to play against you. Do you know what an H100 is? It is artificial intelligence. It studies every piece of your data. It couldn't do this before. It couldn't get the specific buy and sell data of every retail investor before. but now it can get it all from the exchange. And with big data can stare at you. How many retail investors can a cluster of NVIDIA H100s destroy? Do you have a chance to make money? I ask you, how can retail investors in the A-shares market possibly make money? You say, Old Wang, that is not right. Isn't it the same in the US? Yes. The US also has H100s. But US retail investors can join the ranks of H100s. US retail investors can buy these funds and play together. Do you have that chance in China? Would these funds with good technology and quantitative trading let you buy in? Do you deserve to? Why won't they let you buy? This is the key question because they are the scythe and you are the leak. You thought that little spectacled guy, the quantitative company DeepSight, what did they do before? He used to do quantitative trading against retail investors. He has the most mature technology for this. Can he let retail investors join? You are the leak, and they are the scythe. You want to join. Do you deserve to? Why are there no leaks in the US? There are no retail investors in the US. The US stock market is dominated by institutional investors, while the Chinese market is dominated by retail investors. So the ecological niche is different. The K-line charts are now all drawn by computers. Can you compete with that? So you'll still fantasize about making money in a stock market like this. Wow, I am impressed. You will only come to your senses after a very long time of playing. Everything they say is just AI playing against you. It is not just the Chinese stock market. If there is anything special about the Chinese stock market compared to other financial markets, including various currencies, gold, precious metals, various futures, and foreign exchange, the biggest difference is, what is it? Yi Huiman is gone. Yi Huiman didn't just step down, he was arrested. Now it is Wu Qing. Do you hear me? If Wu Qing is a normal CSRC chairman, he will also be arrested. All of them will be because they do the same things. I've been through how many CSRC chairmen. When I was in my prime, the CSRC chairman was Shang Folin. Do you know who Liu Hongru is? Do you know who Zhou Chenqing is? I can't tell you everything. You can argue among yourselves. As you argue, you will eventually sing the song. Only you with me. I'll read you a letter written to me by a friend named Paradeand Hai. You can listen and see how amazing my line drawing theory is. If the Chinese stock market is really about line drawing, the only difference is that there are too many leaks in this line. Drawing if other markets are like an 11-player football game. The Chinese stock market is a football field with 11,000 people playing. It is a bit chaotic, but the fundamentals are the same. Hello, Master. First of all, congratulations on the new car. Today, I finally understood Zhang Weixing's story and want to share a story about losing money to reinforce the doctrines of our faith. Listen up, Paradeand Hai is a senior disciple, much more knowledgeable than you idiots who have only been trading for a year. This time is different. Wow, every time it is this time is different. Okay, you will soon realize that this time is still the same. Today I finally understood Zhang Weixing's story and want to share a story about losing money to reinforce the doctrines of our faith. All markets are about line drawing. Not what I said, but what he said. It is not just gold. Bitcoin is also useless. This is what happened yesterday and today. I bought a perpetual contract on Binance called Inan with 10 times leverage. When I changed direction, it changed direction. And this happened several times until my money was gone. Later, I closed my position, and the line stopped moving. I lost $4,800, not a lot. After listening to your story about Zhang Weixing, I thought I understood before, but I didn't. I thought I was too small to be targeted, but I didn't expect that AI and big data are so powerful. Now they can draw lines for a whole day just to deal with one person. Me, now that I've lost money, I really get it. The liquidity for INA on the exchange is 700 million USD a day. I only traded with $4,800, and I still let them in drawing lines for 2 days. The 20% fluctuations back and forth were all line drawing. I'll just follow the big players from now on. Good night, master. Dadier, hi, you didn't hear wrong. The 700 million, he said, 690 million of that is fake. It is all arranged by the exchange itself. It is like hunting wild ducks. The wild ducks are very cunning and won't land. So what do the hunters do? Hunters will make a lot of fake wild ducks that can not only quack but also flap their plastic wings. They put them on the water's edge. From the sky, it looks like a group of wild ducks are having a good time, and the real wild ducks will come down. Bang! You are shot. Do you understand now? You thought they were all ducks, but you were the only real wild duck. Dadier Hai finally believes it. There are still many people who don't believe it. First, your time in the market is too short, and second, you have too little money. It is the same thing. If you were born too recently, you naturally think you are the center of the universe. But as you leave, you realize you are just an NPC. All the kids who were just born think they are the savior. With mom, dad, grandpa, and grandma surrounding them, they are the emperor. When you go into society and get beaten, you are nothing. Kneel down and become a leek, an ox and a horse. Do you hear me? Do you understand? The post-80s generation is collectively leaving the stage. Now 11 million of them have died. I am telling you, the post-80s generation is China's first generation of only children. When we were kids, the post-80s were called little emperors, 6 adults. For one child, their parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents were all alive, and China's economy was already rising. 6 adults raising one child, the little emperor of the family, the only child. Look at the post-80s generation now. Aren't they all wishing they were dead? The post-80s are in their 40s now. Aren't they all quitting the game early and ending the game, right? What is it? This time is different. Okay, you are young. You'll slowly learn that nothing in this world is different. The different won't happen to you. Look at me. So, did this military parade give us hope? There is a little bit of hope. This little bit of hope leaves a little bit of uncertainty in our hearts. I once wrote a series of articles called The Muddy Crystal Ball. In that article, I told everyone that the charm of the world's financial markets and stock markets is that they are unpredictable. No one knows what the future trend will be. This is its charm, called the muddy crystal ball. In this muddy crystal ball, what is the most valuable thing it gives us for the future? Hope, of course. So finally, I'll leave you with a little bit of hope. As an old Chinese saying goes, where there is an anomaly, there is a monster. Let's look for the anomalies and monsters this parade gave us. First, the People's Liberation Army, PLA receiving a state-level inspection in Tiananmen Square, is the biggest event for the PLA. Besides war itself, there is nothing more important than this. Unless they're attacking Taiwan tomorrow, and everyone is in ambush to deceive everyone, that is another story. However, the Vice Chairman of the Central Military Commission, CMC of the PLA, General He Weidong, the second in command, was absent for the entire event. Does that seem strange to you? He Weidong is not in trouble. There was no official announcement, but at least He Weidong did not appear. The chairman of the CMC is Xi Jinping, and there are 2 vice chairmen. One is He Weidong, and the other is Zhang Yuxia. One is the left general, and one is the right general. The left general didn't attend. What important business did he have? I am not finished in all previous inspections of the PLA. Since the rank system was established, the person who reports to the chairman of the CMC from the inspection vehicle has always been a general, and he should be the commander of the Central Theater Command, or the Beijing Military Region, who organizes this event. Who was it this time? It was the commander of the Central Theater Command Air Force, a lieutenant general. Where was the commander of the Central Theater Command, the general? He didn't come. Okay, I am not finished. Can other generals come? Is there a historical precedent? For example, if the commander of the Beijing military region is unwell or has other military arrangements, is there another person? Yes, the chief of the general staff. Now he is called the chief of the Joint Staff Department of the CMC of the PLA, which is the former chief of the general staff. He is a general of the army, and this person is acceptable. This person is Liu Zhenli, but he didn't come. If he didn't come, is there a replacement? Yes. The military hierarchy is very strict. The deputy chief of the Joint Staff Department of the PLA, who is also a general at the theater command level, is General Shu Qiling. General Shu Qiling is the normal person to do this job. In other words, one of these three, Liu Zhenli, Shu Qiling, or the commander of the Central Theater Command, Wang Qiang, is the normal person to be there. But instead, the Central Theater Command, Air Force Commander, a lieutenant general, was there, which is an unprecedented low-level appointment. We all know the nature of our current leader. This is a self-downgrade. Our current leader likes a big show. This doesn't conform to logic or our previous understanding of him. So, this is a small problem. That is the first point. The second point, did you notice the time? The parade was unprecedentedly short. It was an hour early. A normal parade should start at 10 a.m. This one started at 9 a.m. and ended at 10:30 a.m. with the release of doves. It was an hour and a half. Very fast. What is the reason? The only explanation is that the military was unwilling to cooperate. It was too long for you to go on. Also, Xi Jinping's health is not good. It was extremely hot in Beijing that day. The temperature was a bit more bearable at 9 a.m. But if he had to go on for 3 hours at 10 a.m., could Xi Jinping's body hold up? Why can't his body hold up? The third anomaly is, have you noticed that Xi Jinping's face was very dark? Not only was it dark, but you could also see his head constantly shaking during the parade. And as he was walking up the stairs, he walked very slowly. What does this mean? It means that this 70-year-old child doesn't seem to have perfect health. The fourth crucial, bizarre point is that Zhang Yuxia appeared. CCTV gave him 4 seconds of airtime. Zhang Yuxia stood where he shouldn't have. Zhang Yuxia should have stood on the main rostrum, because he is an active vice chairman of the CMC. If he Weidong didn't come, he would be the only vice chairman. Where did he stand? He stood next to the retired former members of the standing committee at the level of state leaders. He was at the very edge. He was on the very outside of the right side. He was right next to Zhang Gaoli and Wang Kuishan. He was standing on the Jiang faction side, and Wang Kuishan was very happy and even laughed. Wow, Wen Jiabao's face was completely different from New Year's Day and last year's National Day. Last year on National Day, old Wen was so happy, and Wang Kuishan was crying. What does this mean? It means that for now, I'll analyze the other weird points later. Another thing is that this parade was exactly the same as the one in 2015 for the 70th anniversary. The 2015 parade was very long. Why? Because there were official military observation groups from 14 countries and infantry formations from 11 countries, with over 1,000 people participating in the parade. The foreign military units marched behind the PLA's honor guards and the army, navy, and air force units, and before the equipment units, the infantry formations from 11 countries: Belarus, Cuba, Egypt, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Mexico, Mongolia, Pakistan, Serbia, Tajikistan, and Russia, came for the 70th anniversary of the victory of the anti-Japanese war. So that parade was much longer, and the sky was crystal clear. What about this time? There was nothing. Besides these 11 official military units, there were also 6 other countries: Afghanistan, Cambodia, Fiji, Laos, Vanuatu, and Venezuela, who did not participate in the march. That was 10 years ago. In 2015, look, there is not a single one now. And look at the footage from 2015. The sky was a deep blue. When I saw it back then, I thought the national fortune will last at least 10 years. Why? The 10-year cycle applies to people. You can tell a person's state, but look at the weather today. With all the high-tech weather control, Could you see the planes? The planes during the inspection were really hard to see. They were truly invisible. Why was it hazy with smog? The weather didn't cooperate this time. The duration wasn't long enough. All the foreign military units were cancelled. Also, the position where Zhang Yuxia was standing. Zhang Yuxia shouldn't have been standing there because he hasn't retired. Why would he stand with the retirees? Now let's do a deep analysis. Where there is an anomaly, there is a monster. Why first? Why were no generals or even related army leaders present? I think the military is sending a clear message. We are dissatisfied. This is to offset the message of your absolute power in this parade. Furthermore, all members of the CMC could not show up. Why? If you dare to stand on the wrong side, Shu Qiliang and He Weidong are an example. Therefore, not a single army general at the theater command level appeared. This is our deep analysis of the military's reasons. The political analysis is about party and government reasons, where I ask you a basic question. Do you know which department is in charge of the seating arrangements and guidance for the Tiananmen rostrum? It is under Kaichi's control. He is absolutely Shai's person. The general office of the Central Committee is now Kai's territory. Where Zhang Yuxia stood was arranged by them, not something Zhang Yuxia could decide for himself. On the surface, he was standing with former members of the Standing Committee at the level of state leaders. But they were all retired old men, and they made him stand on the very outside. If Zhang Yuxia took one more step to the side, he would be off the rostrum. So it is essentially being pushed to the side, right? This is not just being sidelined. It is being marginalized. Standing with Zhang Gaoli, this is also a form of humiliation. So from our deep analysis, coupled with the hazy weather, it shows that the battle between Xi and Zhang has not been decided yet. In other words, the parade has no conclusion yet. So this is our little bit of hope. The fourth plenary session next month will again be a bull-bear turning point. The fourth plenary session is the decisive battle. If the fourth plenary session decides on the transfer of power, there will likely be another bull market. You heard me right. Chinese fund managers are so stubborn because fewer people are willing to emigrate, and more people can't leave that environment. So everyone still has hope. There will be another battle around the fourth plenary session, and it will be a fierce one. The fourth plenary session decides on personnel, and a winner must be determined. So there will be another small wave of a bull market around the fourth plenary session. I am calling it right here. Our crystal ball is muddy, and we can't see far, but we can see about a month ahead. If the winner is not decided yet,